Simone, for those wonderful introductions. And that is what this campaign is about. It's bringing people together. We began this campaign all of 3.5 months ago, and the momentum, as you can see tonight, has been nothing less than extraordinary. Thank you for being here. We have had great crowds in my hometown of Burlington, Vermont, in Minneapolis, in Denver, in Madison, in Dallas, in Houston, in Portland, in New Orleans. Last night we had 15,000 people out in Seattle. Portland, you have done it better than anyone else. This is by far the largest crowd, 20,000 people. Simple and straightforward. There is no president who will fight harder to end institutional racism in this country and to reform our broken criminal justice system. Distinction of having more people in jail than any other country on earth. I want to see this country not have more people in jail, but have jobs and education rather than incarceration. This country today faces more crises than at any time since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And what we are going to do, and what we understand, is that when problems are caused by dumb public policy, good public policy will resolve it. And today we're coming together to develop good public policy. That this great nation belongs to all of us, not just a handful of billionaires. Today we live in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, but few people understand that or feel that because almost all of the wealth is controlled by a handful of people, and together we are going to change that. Our country today has more income and wealth inequality today than at any time since 1928. In my view, the issue of wealth and income inequality is the great moral issue of our time. Issue of morality into politics today. There is something profoundly wrong when the top 1/10 of 1% owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. When over 50% of new income generated today goes to the top 1%. There is something profoundly wrong when in recent years we have seen a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, yet the average American is working longer hours for lower wages, and we have shamefully the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. That has got to change. That will change. This campaign is sending a message to the billionaire class. Yes, we have the guts to take you on. There is something profoundly wrong when in recent years we have seen a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, yet the average American is working longer hours for lower wages, and we have shamefully the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. That has got to change. That will change. This campaign is sending a message to the billionaire class. Yes, we have the guts to take you on. Tax breaks when children in America go hungry. Shutting down factories in America, sending out jobs abroad when millions of Americans are in desperate need of good paying jobs. You are not going to continue to hide your billions in profit in the Cayman Islands and Bermuda. Destroying this country. Enough is enough. It's going to end. I'm going the last 40 years. Despite exploding technology and increased worker productivity, median family income today is almost $5,000 less than in 1999. In my state of Vermont and here in Oregon, it is not unusual to see people not just working one job, working 2 jobs, working 3 jobs, trying to cobble together some income and some health care. That is not what the American economy should be. Last statistic said that official unemployment was 5.3%. But what they forgot to tell you is that statistic did not include those people who have given up looking for work, those people who are working part-time, and altogether, real unemployment is over 10%. Let me tell you something that almost nobody talks about, and that is we have a huge and tragic situation regarding youth unemployment in America. Last month, I asked the Economic Policy Institute to do a study to find out what real youth unemployment and underemployment was in America. And this is what they came up with. For kids who are high school graduates, between 17 and 20. If you're white, real unemployment, 33%. If you are Hispanic, real unemployment, 36%. If you are African American, real unemployment for those kids, 51%. That we have more people in jail than any other country, you would be sorely mistaken. My view is that instead of investing in jails and incarceration, what about jobs and education? Of having the best educated population on earth. When we talk about the economy, let us be very clear. Millions of our fellow Americans are working at wages that are much, much too low. Have to work 50 or 60 hours a week in order to survive. The federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. It is not to be raised to a living. addressing men, talking to the guys now. Stand with the women and demand pay equity for women. What they need is that women in this country should not be able to control their own bodies and own What they need is that women are not smart enough to be able to purchase the contraceptives they need. I disagree. That our gay brothers and sisters should not be able to marry or enjoy all of the benefits of citizenship. I disagree. Have been married for 27 years. We believe in family. Family values is just a little bit different than the Republicans do. In my view, when we talk about family values, we must end the international embarrassment of the United States of America being the only major country on earth that does not guarantee workers paid medical and family care. Let me tell you what that family value really means. Today, here in Oregon or Vermont, a woman is having a baby. That is an enormous day for that woman, for the dad, pretty big day for the baby as well. But here's the story, and I want you to think about this, because this really gets to the heart of what family values are about. If that woman and that family have sufficient income, she will be able to stay home for weeks and months to love that new baby, to bond with that baby, and that is maybe the most important thing that a human being can do. But here's the point. If that woman in Vermont, in Oregon, does not have sufficient income, that woman will be forced to separate herself from her newborn baby and go back to work in 5 days, 8 days, 2 weeks. That is not and that is not. I will fight for 12 weeks of paid family care. working more than 40 hours. And yet, there are new jobs being offered every day that have zero paid vacation. We need every worker in America to have 2 weeks paid vacation. What is on their mind? The answer always is jobs. People are worried about the fragility of the economy. If they're 55, they're worried they'll be fired tomorrow, replaced by somebody half their wage, half their age, and half their wage. If they are young, high school graduate, college graduate, very difficult to find the kinds of work that pay them the wages they need. In my view, we need a major federal jobs program. A program which rebuilds our crumbling roads and bridges and water systems. Over 5 years, creating up to 13 million decent paying jobs. When we talk about jobs, it's not only the need to create jobs, it's the need not to lose jobs. You are looking at the senator and a former congressman who voted against NAFTA, CAFTA, permanent that the time is now to invest in the United States of America. What is existence when we talk about greed, when we talk about arrogance, when we talk about thievery? These are just some of the words to describe what goes on in Wall Street. The worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. And today, I find it interesting, by the way, that we see kids getting criminal records for having marijuana, but the CEOs of these large institutions get away with nothing. Destroyed the economy, resulting in millions of Americans losing their jobs, their homes, their life savings. Nothing happens to them except they end up making more money now than they did before. The truth is today that most of the major financial institutions are bigger now than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. got to break these financial institutions up. Banks invest in small and medium-sized businesses, helping people buy their homes, not an island unto themselves. My friends, let me be as blunt as I can and tell you something that I think most of you already know. And that is, as a result of the disastrous Supreme Court decision on Citizens United. As a result of that decision, the American political system has been totally corrupted, and the foundations of American democracy are being undermined. You're already fantastically wealthy, but now we're going to give you the opportunity to buy the United States government. And that is exactly what they are about to do if we do not end, wipe out Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the EPA, the Postal System. When you have a multi-billionaire family spending more money than either of the two major political parties, that is not democracy, that is oligarchy, and that is that I have made, and that is my nominees to the U.S. Supreme Court will in fact have a litmus test, and that test will be that they will have to tell the American people that their first order of business on the Supreme Court will be to overturn citizenship. That America must be a vibrant democracy, a democracy which has one of the highest voting turnouts in the world, not one of the lowest. why we must move to public funding of elections. When we talk about democracy, I want to touch briefly on another issue. A few days ago, I was at an event with Martin Luther King III and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, one of the important civil rights groups in America. And what we talked about were two things. Number one, we celebrated the victory 50 years ago of the Voting Rights Act. What the Voting Rights Act did is it said that every American, regardless of the color of your skin, will have the right to vote. On another issue. A few days ago, I was at an event with Martin Luther King III and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, one of the important civil rights groups in America. And what we talked about were two things. Number one, we celebrated the victory 50 years ago of the Voting Rights Act. The right to vote. But as many of you know, 2 years ago, the Supreme Court gutted a very important provision of the Voting Rights Act, and immediately afterward, states all over the country began to make it harder for people to vote, move toward voter suppression. Voter fraud is a very serious crime and people who commit it should be punished. But the good news is there is almost no voter fraud anymore. But what these Republican governors and legislatures did is come up with all kinds of road barriers to make it harder for people of color, poor people, old people to vote. Suddenly you had to have all kinds of voter identification, voting lists were purged if you didn't vote in the last few elections, and their goal was very clear. Their goal was to make it harder for people who would vote against them to participate in the political process. That was their goal. But it has never occurred to me that the way to win an election is to deny people who disagree with me the right to vote. And what we need is clear as I can be. Those people who don't have the guts to run on their ideas, who think the only way they win an election is by denying people who disagree with them the right to vote, are cowards. Voters have the guts to stand behind your ideas. Don't be afraid of people coming out and voting against you. Universal voting rights so that everybody, when they are 18, will be able to vote. Brothers and sisters, all of you are aware that we live in a highly competitive global economy, and if this country is going to survive economically, we need the best educated workforce in the world. Today, what is going on with regards to higher education is a national disgrace. We have hundreds of thousands of bright young people who have studied hard, people who are qualified to go to college. But they cannot go to college for one reason. Their family lacks the money. That is wrong. It is not only unfair to those young people who want the opportunity to become doctors and engineers and teachers, but it is dumb if we're concerned about the future of our economy. That is why I have introduced legislation which does two things. First, it says that every public college and university in America will be tuition free. Makes life easier for people who are thinking of going to college. But I'll tell you what else it does in a very profound way. There are kids today in Portland, there are kids in Burlington, Vermont, who in the 3rd or 4th grade, they know that they're never going to make it to the middle class. Their parents have never gone to college. They don't know anybody who has gone to college. And they're sitting around saying, why should I study hard? What difference does it make? Who cares if they drop out of school or not? When we tell every kid in America that if you study hard, you take school seriously, you will be able to go to college, that will revolutionize education. Consequential issue. There are millions of Americans today who are suffering under the burden of outrageous student debt. Some of them are here tonight. A couple of years ago, I had a meeting in Vermont, met with a number of young people. And there was a woman who committed the great crime of wanting to become a doctor, go to medical school, and practice primary care for low-income people, exactly the kind of doctors we need. She came out of medical school $300,000 a day. I was in Iowa a few months ago, met a woman who just graduated dental school. We have a dental crisis in America. We need more dentists. She left school $400,000 a day. And all over this country, people graduate school $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a day, and they are paying interest rates of 7, 8, 10%. Now, I don't understand how someone can refinance their home today at 2 or 3%, somebody's paying 10% interest rates on student debt. More international conflict as people fight for limited resources of water and land. Our moral responsibility is to lead the world, work with China, work with Russia, work with India. And at a time when families are struggling to put food or on free or reduced lunch programs, they made billions of dollars in cuts in nutrition programs. The Republicans and their corporate sponsors that those are not the priorities of the American people. Social Security, we are going to expand Social Security. We are not going to fund benefits for veterans. We're going to make sure that every veteran gets the health care they What this campaign is about is bringing people together for a political revolution. It means that while we may have differences of opinion on this or that issue, it is imperative that all of us stand together for our kids and our parents and create a nation in which everybody lives in. And when we talk about everybody, that must include 11 million undocumented people in this country. Crazy and dangerous world. We see horror after horror. We see what nobody, I can assure you, has a magical answer to solving these issues. The other day, I talked to the President about his proposal to bring forth a process for Iran not to be able to get a nuclear weapon, but to do it without going to war. I learned that just recently, in Afghanistan and Iraq, we lost 6,700 brave men and women. I learned and met with men and women who came home without limbs, without arms, without eyesight, without hearing. I spoke to some of the 500,000 people who came home with PTSD or traumatic brain injury. The cost of war is real, it is terrible. I believe that war should be the last resort, not the first resort. Against the war in Iraq. I can't tell you, I can't promise you that the agreement negotiated by President and Secretary of State Kerry will work. I can't promise you that. It was a complicated agreement involving China, Russia, Germany, UK, and France, and Iran. But I think we have got to give that process a chance. Let me close by begging you to think big, not small. Of what this great country can be. We can be. And this is not utopian wishing. This is reality. We can be a nation which joins other nations around the world in guaranteeing health care to all people as a right. They know that their babies and their kids are in quality, affordable childcare. And be a nation in which every American, regardless of his or her income, can get a college education. Where seniors today who are living on $12,000, $13,000 a year cannot afford their medicine or to heat their homes. We can be a nation in which everyone, no matter their race, their religion, their disability, or their sexual orientation, realizes the full promise of equality that is our birthright as Americans. Brothers and sisters, this is the nation we can create when we stand together and not let people divide us. By native born and by immigrant, by gay or straight, by male or female. They have unlimited sums of money. They own much of this country. They control much of the media. They are very powerful. But we have something that they do not have. We have a united people.